Me a hug. I hug all the women. Oh my God, everyone's looking at me. Holy shit. Um, my name's Rolando Alcoholic. My friends call me Rolo. The homies call me Cholo Rolo. And the white people call me Rolando. So, but hey, 40, 49 years, man. That's great, man. All the people who took chips and birthdays, man. What a great milestones. I'm glad I'm here to see that because it gives me hope. It gives me hope to keep doing this thing one day at a time. Like whoever said it, I love Alcoholics Anonymous too. I was crazy too when I came in, people were saying that. But today I can honestly tell you I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I love all the people that showed up for me today, you know. It's pretty like overwhelming, heartwarming. People from Redlands, people from Compton, no, I'm just kidding. But you know, Ty, you know, Tammy, all you guys, man, I'm overpaid. I can tell you that. You know, I'm simply overpaid. So, you know, I come from I want to thank Scott too for you know, bringing me up here and you know, buying me dinner. That's the only reason I came, so he could buy me dinner. You know, but yeah, man, I love Alcoholics Anonymous. Darren, man, you've been my buddy like for a long time. I came to see Darren back in 2023. I went to his book study and we just hit it off. You know, I got a lot of friends in AA, man, a lot of friends in AA. And what they say here is that I'm pretty sure you guys heard it, like we're all friends, we just haven't met yet. And I appreciate that's so much. That means so much to me, man. And so yeah, I come from the city of San Bernardino. You know, beautiful city of San Bernardino. Born and raised. Thank God I live in Yucaipa now. That's where I'm from. But I got out of there. And I love my city, man. I do. I really do. My grandmother told me, rest in peace. You know, on my paternal side, my pops. You know, you'll hear about my pops that. You know, don't forget where you come from because that's going to make you the man and the person you are today. And I truly believe that, man, because I've come a long way today, man, and I did a total 180. And I'll tell you about, you know, what happened to me and, you know, and what it's like and what it's like now. It might be twice, man, because what happened was really I made it back to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous by a thread, man. You know, I was out there running amok hard, you know, drinking, couldn't stop drinking no matter what. I love this meeting. You guys are great, man. You welcome me in. I know some people too here, man, like Jake, and I was honored like a month ago, right? I was honored Scott picked me up. I was camping in Carpinteria. You know, I've been doing that as a kid, and generation after generation, we take our kids, and I do that every year. I haven't done it like in a couple of years, but it was cool to go out there and camp with my family. And then I hit up Scott, and I was there from like Monday to Friday, and Scott said, well, let me see if I can I told him a week before that. I said, let me see if I can rearrange and get you to lead the junkyard dogs. Woof. And, so I was real honored and grateful that he got to arrange that, and I was able to lead that meeting, man. And that meeting is really what Darren talked about and Scott talked about. It's a group of 80 men in there, and they're all sick. You know what I mean? And I might be sicker, but man, it was just so grateful to see all these guys in there doing what we're doing today, doing one day at a time, trudging this road of happy destiny. Man, I so admire that. Like I said, I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I love you guys. I love the people in it. I love the fellowship. I love God. I love Jesus Christ. I love all that. You know, this is what got me here today, man. And I'm so grateful I made it back. So this is what happened, man. I grew up in San Bernardino, California, right? And I grew up in the hood, east of San Bernardino. And my father was a great man, a great job. My mom was a great woman, great job. You know, always put food on the table and clothes on her back. But he was a real raging alcoholic, real hardcore alcoholic, my father was. And to the day I was born till I can remember that he always had a bottle behind the trash can or a bottle, you know, by the side of his bed. And I always wondered what it was. As I grew older, I figured out what it was. And, you know, me growing up in the hood, walking the streets of the neighborhood, and, you know, I would always see like things of that nature, like people slamming dope, the homies slamming dope. You know, I would hear people smoking meth, like out in the open. Like my family was a good family of the neighborhood where people, I don't want to say will put us on a pedestal, but my grandfather was a well-known person in the community of San Bernardino. He knew the mayor at the time, Bob Holcomb. He died in 70. I was like 1.5, 7, probably 40, like as old as he is, in sobriety day. And so like he died like in, I was 1.5, probably 77. He passed away of a heart attack. But, the gangs and everything in the neighborhood, he petitioned for a community center to be built around the neighborhood to keep the gang-infested people out of the gangs, and we had basketball court, and we had a swimming pool. They had free lunches and all that. So they wanted to make business buildings, but since he fought so hard, it was succeeded, and they named it after him. So to this day, man, I go to the neighborhood and I show my little daughter, like, hey, this is your great-grandfather. This community center is named after him. And it's monumental to me, man, because that's like my grandfather, and it's named after him. So I think it'll stay there till maybe I'm gone, and maybe she can still go and see it. And so we were real well respected. They were real well respected in our neighborhood, even though a lot of people were poverty, and I saw it all. Like I said, people doing drugs, people slamming dope. What kept me away from the negative activities in the neighborhood was that I was good at sports. I was the best Mexican to play basketball in San Bernardino County. You know what I mean? No lie. No lie. I'll ball you up right now, So yeah, I play a little bit of football and I play a little bit of baseball, right? And one day, they because my mom made sure that we had the best childhood we could receive. Like, for instance, even though we lived in that neighborhood, my grandma was well known too because of my grandpa. Even though she made us childhood seem real great, that we got to go to things like Disney. She took us to Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, and all these other kids might have been jealous of that, But some of their dads were in prison, some of their dads had OD'd, but my generation, man. So one day I was walking to baseball practice, man, and I was just minding my own business. I know these cats because I grew up with them. I'm growing up with them, and they said, "Hey, Rolo, you want to get jumped into the gang?" And I'm looking at them like, yeah, I do want to get jumped in the gang. I had a point to prove, I had to prove a point. And because they thought I was like too good for these guys to hang out with. But I really wasn't, man. I could hang with them up, And so I stopped over and I said, yeah, I want to join, I want to join the hood, So I stopped it, and the 3-on-1, man. So they beat me up, man. Boom, 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 boom. You know what? I was part of the gang. And I knew I was going to be part of that gang for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? For the rest of my life, I'm going to be a part of something. And I went over there, I was brushing my shoulders off to my other baseball, my teammates go, what happened, Rolo? I said, I joined the gang, guys. This is it. Forever, I'm going to be joining the gang, and we're going to do legal activities and things like that. I can't wait, I can't wait. As time progressed, I never even kicked it with them fools, you know what I mean? But I was part of it. I was part of the hood, And, as time progressed, man, I'm telling you right now, I was a good kid. I was really a good kid, man. I grew up, my father was drinking progressively, and he would take me, like, I want to say 7 or 8, 9 years old. He would take me to the meetings. It was in San Bernardino called, I don't know if you guys are familiar, any of you are familiar with San Bernardino, but it was called the 10th Street Alano Club. And it was right there, like 6 blocks away from where I grew up. It was by a cemetery. It's still there, but like, I guess they couldn't afford it. And the building is still there. It says 10th Street Alano Club. And they always tell me, like, when I got sober, like, if you want to be real grateful, go to that club. You know what I mean? Because it was pretty horrid. Pimps, hookers, all that. But my dad took me there, and I'm probably 7, 8, 9 years old. Right? And he would always be intoxicated. He would always be drunk. And I wondered why he wasn't getting it. I mean, Alcoholics Anonymous wasn't working for him. I didn't understand it. I thought this was supposed to work. I thought it was supposed to be a good thing. I thought it was supposed to keep you sober. And every time I ask him, Dad, you come here all the time drunk and intoxicated. How come it's not working for you? And how come you're drunk when you come here? Are you supposed to do some simple things around here? And he would always tell me, like, right now, Rolando, I'm at peace. I'm at peace right now. I didn't really get that because I was a little dude. I remember being sober like 2 or 3 years, maybe. And but he was, like I said, he was a good father, man. I went on to, my brother was already active. He was like 5 years, he's 5 years older than me. He was already active in the neighborhood, so he joined the gang, but he was more active. I was still a good kid. I remember one day, I don't know if you guys heard of DARE, but that shit had me brainwashed. You know what I mean? It had me I found a big sack of weed in my brother's pants, and I flushed it down the toilet. What the hell? I'm like, freaking DARE, man, Officer Aragon and all them dudes, they had me brainwashed. I couldn't believe it, man, and today I knew it was good shit, you know what I mean? Damn. But, man, I couldn't believe I did that. I still think about it like, well, I could have rolled it up fat, but anyways. So, yeah, man, so my father did real good, man. He put us in a Christian school. I went to the Christian school in 7th and 8th grade, and I thrived on it, man. They had a basketball program there, and they had a Bible study in the morning. I recited the whole Corinthians 12, the love chapter. I got to sing in the play in 7th grade, but next year I came back at 8th grade. My voice had changed. It wouldn't let me do it no more. I was pretty mad. And, man, I had a good childhood, man. I was like a good kid, I went to high school. 9th grade, I was still good, honors classes, geometry, all that, and 15 years old, man. Like I said, I didn't hang with the hood, but I met these guys, man. It was during the 90s, and they threw these big freaking parties, house parties and raves and things of that nature. The 90s, and it was on. I met these guys, and finally I went to a house party, a kegger party, and they put a little 15-year-old kid in charge of the keg. I mean? That's idiots, And so I was able to serve people and take drinks too, serve people. I found out it was Budweiser. So after I started drinking, I felt like a king. You know what I mean? The king of Budweiser, and I felt like a king. And so forth, man. So forth. I was drinking and drinking and drinking it. And then I figured out, you got to have the acronyms of beer if you drink them. So Budweiser stands for because you deserve what every individual should enjoy regularly. And I sure did enjoy regularly. You know what I mean? And I was drinking and drinking that keg beer, and suddenly I guess my buddies tell me I black out, and I felt like they say you're acting like this big juggernaut. You're taking over the whole party. You're trying to take his girl. You're trying to be with his girl. You're trying to stab this dude. You're trying to fight with this dude, and you're trying to do. I was in a blackout. So what I do is I wake up in the morning at my grandma's house. I don't even know how I got there. Whoever took me. Like I told him, I must have told him, take me to my grandma's. Not my mom and dad's. Even though my dad drank a lot, he still would have whooped my ass. You know what I mean? And he took me to my grandma's house. And I remember my grandma telling me, mijo, do not do that again. I guess I was on the grass laid out and throwing up and saliva all on me. And she had to pick me up. And my grandma, grandmas are the best. You know what I mean? Grandma told me like, hey, I won't tell your mom and dad. Just don't do this again. I said, yeah, Grandma, I love you, times got dysfunctional too in the household, man. My brother freaked out one time. We got in a big fight. My mom was terrified. My dad was intoxicated, and I didn't think he knew what was going on. And where do I go? To my grandma's house. She always took me in, and I was safe. She only lived down the street, but still I was safe. And that's the things that went on in my household, man. And my drinking was starting to progress. And as time went on, man, my father's drinking, it progressed. And I remember one morning, man, we're having Thanksgiving dinner, and it's like 27 years ago, but still. Now that I'm sober, I have feelings, I have feelings, shit. And it was 30 years ago, man, and almost 30 years ago when my father passed. It was Thanksgiving dinner. That's why I remember it so well. And my mom's preparing Thanksgiving dinner, me and my brother, and I think my grandma's coming over and everybody's coming over, and I remember him reaching for his last, the paramedics came, the EMTs came, and I think it was fine. It was final. The doctor always told him he needed to stop, but he couldn't stop no matter what. I get it. I totally get it. So he couldn't stop. And at that time, man, the paramedics came in, and he's reaching for his last drink of vodka. I get it. I get it. I get that. He's reaching for his last drink of vodka, and the paramedics or the EMTs tell him, Mr. Hernandez, I think you need to put that down. So he goes to the hospital, man, and we're all there, and I'm numb already. I'm intoxicated, numb. I'm doing my own thing, and I show no emotion. But I see him in a ventilator, 3 days later, he succumbed to the disease of alcoholism. And if you ever seen an alcoholic death, it's horrific. It's horrific. I seen my dad go through it, every orifice of his body bleeding. Only his liver was shot. And you think that would have scared me, but my pops is my hero, you know what I mean? So what I do, I drink like him. I want to drink like that guy. I try to use excuses, like, oh, my dad died, I'm suffering, poor Rolo, poor my brother, and everything like that, poor my mom. And my mom is a good woman. She stuck with that guy till his alcoholic death. And I commend her for that. It was rough. And yeah, so my dad was my hero, man. My mom took, my poor mother after that, and I try to make them excuses that my dad, what he had raised me already. I was 20 years old, man. He had raised me to be a man already, so I went out and made my own choices. I started committing illegal acts. I would borrow cars, like around the city and stuff. I would borrow them, and I would think they're mine too. And I would take them to these places they call chop shops, something like that, and they would, disassemble them and give me, they'll take the parts and they'd give me money, and that went on for a while. And then I commit other crimes like, assault, and then finally, it happened. I went to the county jail, and then I finally turned my will in my life over to the care of the California Corrections Department. And so yeah, when I went to there, thank God I didn't get caught for the big stuff, So they gave me 2 years with a half. I think I got in trouble in there. They gave me a little 115. I think I did probably almost 16 out of those 2. And I got out, man, and my brother was on fire for Alcoholics Anonymous, right? I was riding him, and he was out there. He had 2 years at the time, and he was on fire, man. He was writing me letters. He said, Rolo, you got to try this program. But I told you guys, it's not going to work for me because I never worked for my father. I seen him. It never worked for my freaking father whatsoever. Thank you, sir. And it never, ever worked for my father. So I told my brother, Rudy, how is it going to work for me? And how is it working for you? So I really had nowhere to go after prison, man. I didn't have anywhere to go. So this was the last house on the block. So I gave it a try, and I got out. And the first day I did take a suggestion because I tried to go before to a meeting. And after that, I got busted. And that's when he was first started going to meetings. So I gave it a try, man. I was testing once a week for parole anyways, So I was like, let me give this AA a try, So I tried it, and I thrived on it, bro. I would go to my neighborhood, because the bus picked me up right there, and there's a spot called, club called Unity. It's in Redlands. So I catch the bus, scrounge up change. The $208 was gone. So I'll scrounge up change. They drop me off right in front of Unity, and I hop off, and I go to those meetings. Right, and I started to like it. I started like, man, I started to pay attention, the similarities and differences. I am pretty messed up like these people, So I paid attention, and I got a book, and I got a sponsor, and I did the steps like thoroughly. I think I sugarcoated the steps a little bit, and I'll get to that real quick. But this is what happened, man. 7 months of my recovery, I get real sick. I'd seen it out of prison. I seen it. Like I just thought I needed to like release some estrogen and some oxytocin or something like that. But that wasn't it. That wasn't it at all, And so I went 7 months of my recovery, man. I get sick one night, and my chest is, and I throw up, and I go to the hospital. And your pride, my ego. I don't want to say what's really wrong with me. And when they do a full examination of me and they admit me, they find it. They say, this is the problem right here at stage 4 testicular cancer, and it spread between, it spread quick. I let it go for a while. I had tumors between my lung and my heart, and I had tumors by my kidney, and eventually it spread to the brain, so I got the scar in the back of my head that, yeah. And you guys showed up. You guys showed up for me. All Alcoholics Anonymous showed up for me. You were praying over me. You were praying over the bed. You were saying, heal this man. People at the club were praying for me. People that go to church from the AA were praying for me. You guys showed up. And I battled that thing for 15 months, man. 8 cycles of chemotherapy, 20 sessions of radiation to the brain. My mother and my dad was already gone, but my mother, I kept the faith. I was 26 years old, and I kept the faith, man. And I beat it, man. I beat that thing, and so I beat it. And then the 20 sessions of radiation. I used to have hair, and so I get the, what do you call it, the cul-de-sac, so I just shave it now because I look like a Mexican Dr. Phil, you know what I mean? I ain't having that, you know what I mean? And so yeah, I shave that, and I shave it. Look good on me. They don't stereotype me because I'm in AA now. I drive a Buick, so I'm safe. You know what I mean? And I'm safe on the streets. If I rode through San Bernardino because my family lives there, I'm still safe. And so I beat that, and I accumulated 5 years. And what happened, man? I got too complacent. Like I said, I didn't have no reservation. I had no reservations, I don't think, but I beat cancer, and I probably wanted to celebrate it. I accumulated 5 years. I went back to the neighborhood. You can take the homie out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the homie. Well, what happened was I was still sober. Though. I went and copped a fat sack, and I copped a lot of firearms. But I didn't do sell nothing in the neighborhood. They don't got money, you know what I mean? I had to go somewhere else to explore and sell it. But I didn't even need to do that. Something clicked in my brain, and I was sober at the time. I was going to one meeting Friday night, mid-stag, in the basement. And, I had these fats, money, 10s, 5s, and 1s, so I would put that in the treasure basket because I was the treasure bag, and I take out all the 20s, so if the cops pull me over, they wouldn't think I was laundering money through AA, bro. So, but yeah, man. So eventually, man, I drank in Alcoholics Anonymous. I was trying to live that double life, and it don't work. It doesn't work if you get loaded in AA. But I tried to perceive this image that I was sober, and I wasn't. And I tried to stay. So I kept going back to meetings, and maybe it'll click, and I wouldn't. I stopped drinking and using, and I was drinking like every day at that meeting, and it was time for me to take my 6-year chip. And I didn't want to tell you guys that I was loaded already, so I led that meeting at the Unity Club. And the only reason I led that meeting is because my grandma was there, rest in peace. My mom, my aunt was faithfully 18 years in the NA program. She passed away. And then a couple of my cousins, I only took that chip because I didn't want to have them be so shameful of me that, look at my son, he did it again. My mom especially, because I heard that woman out there, and I heard her again when I went out. My mom was like and then what happened was, I was driving around, and 3 days later, God was doing something where I couldn't do for myself. I get arrested. They raided my house. I thank God for that moment, but I think he did that because I think all you good people were praying over me, touching my heart, making sure that I survived cancer. And I really think that God punished me for, lying to you guys. That was just my perception. That's just my thought. You know what I mean? So I stayed out there. I don't want to get into all horrifics, but I put myself in situations where I could have hurt myself real bad or hurt other people. You know what I mean? And I stayed out there for a horrible 6 years, man. Horrible 6 years. 2.5 of those years I did in prison. I was in and out of county jail at first. I got an allergy to alcohol. I break out in handcuffs. And PO right here. I'm sorry. My bad. I break out in handcuffs, and shit gets real drastic, and if you ever detox in a county jail after running and gunning, man, it's horrific. That was me right there. I had the shakes all day. It took me about 7 to 10 days to finally get out of that, and I was able to, work out or do whatever I did. I get out and do it again, The judge kept looking at me and seeing me. He goes, Rolando, you're a nuisance to the community of San Bernardino. I'm just gonna sentence you to 3 years and 4 months. And I said, I had a lawyer too. That didn't do nothing for me. And so I get 3 years and 4 months, and I roll up to prison in Corcoran. And guess what they got in prison in Corcoran? Bruno. Yeah, man. I became the best funeral maker. I should get an award for that. And what we did every Sunday was we mixed that up, cooked that stuff up, and me and my Sally. And we shoot it out to other people so we can have store later. I trade my apples and my apple juices so I can make that stuff. Oh, man, it was good, too. And we do that every Sunday, man, till I got out, man. And when I got out, they say, like, when you get out the gate by 8, in the spoon by noon, back in the pen by 10, thank God that it applied to me. But when I got out, man, what happened was, like, the people who picked me up, there was 2 chicks and my buddy one solid buddy from my neighborhood. He probably came and saw me when I had cancer. No homies from the streets came and saw me when I had cancer, maybe a couple solid ones. And, the only people they say your homies are going to take care of you, oh, we got you, we're going to put money on your books and things of that nature. Man, the only one that put money on my books was my mama. You know what I mean? My mom was the only one that put money in my books, man. And I'm real grateful for her, man, today. And so as they picked me up from the gate, they had everything. They had the cocaine, they had the weed, and they had the 24 packs of Corona. So as soon as we hit the freeway, it was on. And I could have put myself back in the pen, man. And I got to San Bernardino, and I was just hanging out for a while. I lasted a year out there. And in 3 months, man, I met this, I was, dangling with women, and I told you I had cancer, so I met this girl 3 months later. I met her at the bar. You know what I mean? We met a good girl at the bar, right? And I saw her like this, and I saw her like that. I said, you're mine tonight, baby. And, and she was there to get the heat off her back, right? I thought she was one of us, and she was really sophisticated white woman, you know what I mean? And I found that out later. And what happened was, it's 4th of July, so sparks are flying real high, and we drink. I'm drinking, she's drinking. We go back to her friend's house at her in San Bernardino at the after party, whatever you want to call it, and then we hook up. Prior to that, before I got busted, I've been, reproductive system, the cancer. I have no children, I did have, I may have 2 out there before I had the cancer, maybe, who knows. But this time, I said, nah. So I was shooting blanks for 9 years, right? So it didn't make no sense, you know what I mean? So we hook up, like I said, 4th of July weekend, and then we exchanged. She gets my number after that, and I guess I put it down like James Brown. I don't know, but she gets my number after that, right? And then later on, she calls me like 2 weeks later, and she says, I'm pregnant. I said, you're full of shit. No, you're not. I've been shooting blanks for 9 years. I don't believe it. The oncologist said I can't have babies. I may not be able to have a kid, or maybe I can't have a kid. I said, you're lying. I was drinking every day, man. I was already shaking. I needed the drinks just to keep me going. And I was delusional, and I didn't believe it. So, I tried to go to the Yellow Pages. I didn't have no phone. I was down and out. So the main person who get to the bottom of this is Maury Povich, right? So I'm going to call Maury Povich and get to the bottom of this shit, because he's the only one that can solve it. He's the only one that can solve this problem, right? So, man, they never called me back. And so what she did is we used Maury Povich's website, and we got the kit. So we swallowed each other's cheeks and everything of that nature, and 99.9% it came back that little girl is mine, right? And I was still drinking and every day. Well, I don't believe it. Where's that 0.1 at? It says 99.9. Where's that freaking 0.1, man? No. But she was so funny, and she had jokes too. She says, you know what? You are the father. And I said, but that's the biggest blessing that could ever happen to me, man. I remember her being born. I was in and out of the hospital. I was drinking them little hot shots in and out. I was, smoking weed too, and I remember going into that hospital waiting for our daughter to be born. She induced it a month earlier, because she was tired. I put that girl through hell. I thought she was one of us. I never was home. I made excuses to where I can't be intimate with her, because I wanted to do my thing, and maybe I'd hurt the baby if we had to do something, but just excuse, and to do my thing and go on and make my own choices and stay out for 2 weeks or 1 week, stay in San Bernardino and run amok. Put that girl through so much pain, man, so much pain. And when I came home one day, she says, "You ready?" I said, "Where are we going?" I was all like, a little discombobulated, and she said, "We're going to have the baby." I said, "Oh shit," And so here we go. We're going to the hospital, and I'm riding with her, and I can see it in her eyes. She's full of disgust towards me. I'm drinking every day. I'm a drunk, man. I gotta stay focused and take care of my priorities, which is drinking and drugging. So we go to the hospital. I'm in and out of the hospital, drinking them hot shots, like I said, smoking weed. And I'm going up, man, and she's about to be born. I pass out. But before that, I run into a guy from Alcoholics Anonymous, which I admire to the fullest. He was in the elevator, and his wife was dying of cancer. And I run into him, and he's actually here. He came and showed up too for me, Chris, man. And I know he smelled me, but he was in his own mind, because his wife was dying, and my daughter was being born. But all he said to me, because he was going through his own emotions and everything, he was losing his fiance or his wife or something of that nature, And all he told me was, he said something like, well, good to see you, Rolo. I hope to see you soon. And that kind of got embedded in my brain where, damn, this guy, gave me hope. Maybe I can get back to the rooms. I couldn't get back to the rooms, So what happened was, she was born. I passed out. They had to wake me up for my daughter to be born. And when she was born, man, I started getting emotional and crying. And it wasn't because I was happy she was being born. It was because I thought, is this the father I'm going to become? Drink myself to death like my father and not be able to raise my daughter. That's what I felt. So a month later, man, I still didn't stop. She was born. I got sick. I threw up, man. I had to go home and pick her up. I had to, I had some beers in the fridge, and, it was Bud Light. And my buddy was next door. He wanted to come over and drink. I say, hurry up. I got to go pick up my girl. And he goes, oh, all you got is Bud Light? I'm going to tell you this, guys. You guys know what Bud Light stands for? Bitch, you don't like it, go home then. That's exactly what I told him. That's exactly what I told that dude, I'll drink all this shit, you know what I mean? I need it anyways. And so I went to pick her up. I went to MGD. MGD also, Mexicans getting drunk. And but I went to pick her up, man, and she got our little 1-month-old, our newborn baby in the car. And I drove her home, and she knew I was intoxicated, driving a car with my newborn baby in the back, drunk. She knew it, but she couldn't do anything about it, And I drive home, and then a month later, man, this is where it all came down. I'm in a blackout, man, and I come home from doing whatever I was doing, and I come home and I kick in the door, and I'm verbally abusing this woman with our 1-month-old daughter in her hand. I'm verbally abusing this lady, and she is scared to death. She is scared to death, man, and she calls the cops, man, and but she saved my life. That's what brought me back to you guys. She saved my freaking life. I came to the rooms, that day she saved my life. She called the cops, and I come to a little bit. You see the sirens, shit, you're waking up a little bit, and I vaguely remember, she's holding her 1-month-old daughter, and she tells the police, like, I don't want him to go back to prison. I just want him to leave. And my brother was in Crestline, still sober, and he came and picked me up. And 6 days later, I checked into Cedar House. The next day, I called Gary P., rest in peace, my sponsor that never gave up on me. Never gave up on me even those 6 years. And my brother took me to that noon. He said, can you get him to a noon meeting? And I did. I had a sweater on. I had a hoodie on. My shorts were torn. I didn't even do nothing drastic. I don't even know why I looked like that. But I went, and then I was shaking, of course. Had the shakes, and I walked into the rooms, and he has a big old smile. Like, what are you smiling for, Gary? I'm effed up, And he just was so happy that I was there. And then when I walked into the rooms, all that shame and guilt and fear I felt for for all you guys. I thought you hated me because what I did to you guys, like lie to you with the cancer and all that and everything and a guy named Bill Smith looks like Doc Brown from Back to the Future. I walked in and he says, hey man, we've been waiting for you, welcome home. Sense of relief off my shoulders, man, I was home. 6 days later, I had to go check in the Cedar House, right? I'm not going to tell you guys I stayed sober them 6 days because I didn't. My brother took me to my mom's house. My stepfather, rest in peace. He was kind of like us too. He was a Vietnam vet. He died in 2019. Great man. He always let me come to his house, parole to his house. Great man, man. I love that guy. Took good care of my mother. I stayed there with 6 days, man, and we drank all of his shit. We drank everything in sight, man. I needed it. I even drank the wine, man. I don't even like wine, but I drank it, because I think I like everything that, the effect produced by alcohol, and I needed it, man. I needed it. So when it was time for me to check in the Cedar House, it was April 7th, 2015. And I told my mom, hey, one more time, Mom, please, can you stop at the liquor store and grab me like 3 tall boys? I need it, I'm going into rehab and I got the shakes, She saw me like, please, I'm begging you. My beautiful mother got me a 3-pack, and I drank that real quick, like fast. And I went in there, I think I blew a 0.23, and I went in there and detoxed for 7 days, and I was sick, man. I was so sick, and then I finally got out of the detox, and I wanted to go home. So I called my daughter's mother, and I tell her, hey, I'm ready, I'm ready. You need help? You need to change diapers? I can do that for you, I'll come back and everything will be fine. She says, I'm going to stay one F-bomb, okay? She said, no, stay your fucking ass in there, So I took her suggestion and I stayed. I stayed for 72 days, man, and I got everything I needed to get out of that rehabilitation center. Man, I so love Cedar House. Cedar House saved my life. I paid attention. I did the first 4 steps. I listened to my counselor, and I paid attention, and I did the groups, and the panels came in of people I knew, Gary P., Tom Fyrick, people from Unity that I know, my buddy Eric Coda. I didn't want them to see me, so I was trying to hide when they came. Oh, man, shit, they're going to see me, and one guy said, man, is that Rolo? I'm like, oh, man, my cover's blown, man. And but that's the best thing that happened to me. Cedar House saved my life. I'm telling you right now. How much time I got? Okay. Cedar House saved my life, man. And I got out of Cedar House, man, and I came and saw you guys. I came and saw you guys, man, and I was home. I was home. This time I did it thoroughly. This time I did the steps thoroughly. Gary P. took me to the steps, and I did 1 through 12, honestly, thoroughly. When I came to my 4th step, I put everything on the table. We heard it all. We heard everything. You know what I mean? The gory shit and all that. This guy, man, I'm pouring my heart out to Gary P. I'm putting in the 4th step, and that when I'm all done with the 4th step, I go and then I do the 5th step, and then he goes like, I look at him, he's just like calm and collective, and all he says is me, oh, you want anything else to drink? I'm like, come on, Gary, I just gave you my heart and soul. That's all you want. Oh, you had that last piece of pizza? I'm like, go ahead, man, but what happened was, man, that dude saved my life, man, and he went on to pass away in 2018 of heart ailments. And as soon as I got out of Cedar House, he took me under his wing, and he took me to the Cedar House to share to the addicts and alcoholics where I sat in them chairs, where I sat with them clients. You know what I mean? And he took me under his wing. And when he passed away, he never said that. He said, he started letting me lead. He started letting me facilitate the meeting. And he passed away. He told me one day you're going to inherit this. He never told me he never actually said I was taking over, but I just took the initiative. That's kind of him saying take over. But I took the initiative, and today I walk into Cedar House minus the COVID years. I've been doing this since 2015, April 8th, since I've been sober. Minus the COVID years, I've been taking that panel in for as long as I can remember. And I take women with me so they can share on the women's side to the women. And I take 5 men with me so we can share the message of hope. And I love what it says about the 12th tradition. The very first one, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on unity. And I mean the unity, we're unified right now. Personal recovery depends on us. And right now, we are unified. And I love that about that. It's unity. It's not I, it's we. We do this thing together. I love the tradition one. I think that's all we got to worry about. Is if we're together, we're together. And we can do, because we're all trying to, do the same thing and stay sober one day at a time. 5 years, man. I'm sober, and I'm working. I'm working, and I'm doing these big rig tires and mounting and dismounting. And my chest is starting to hurt. I got diagnosed. I went to the doctor in 2017. I went to Catalina with my girl, and we're going up to Wrigley Memorial, and I had to stop. She thought I was out of shape. I said, no, my freaking chest hurts. So they diagnosed it as a muscle strain, but later on I went back in 2018, no, I'm sorry, 2019 of August, and then I did a stress test, and they found all kinds of blockage in my heart. I had a blocked arteries, and I had a triple bypass, man, in sobriety 5 years. And it was COVID. It was during COVID, so nobody could show up. You know what I mean? None of my AA people, but you showed up in a different way. When I got out of that hospital, man, you guys showed up again with the texts and the freaking, the calls. And I was in that, and the doctor wanted me to get out of this hospital right away because there's COVID patients right down the hall. And 2021 was a tough year, man. If they say sobriety, sobriety gets better, but, life ain't all cupcakes and blowjobs, you know what I mean? And that's the God honest truth, you know what I mean? And March of 2021, I had that heart surgery. I made it because of you guys. I had 6 years. That's when I messed up. 6-year chip. but I made it. But later on down the road, my grandmother, 93 years old, she gets COVID. Everyone gets COVID in the house, you know, and except my cousins and everything. And my aunt, that's 18 years faithfully in NA program. They go to the hospital, man. What happens, my grandma dies August 16th of 2021. That was a tough year for me. Me and my aunt were tight. She died 3 days later. She dies 3 days later of COVID. She has some health issues, and that was my grandma's youngest daughter. So she was in the hospital. My grandma died in the hospital, and 3 days later, my aunt died in the hospital. And that was tough, bro. But guess what? We had the memorial service. A lady from AA sang for me. My aunt was in NA. We celebrated them both. We celebrated their lives. The NA people showed up. You guys showed up for my aunt and my grandmother, and it was the biggest celebration ever. Man, I could not repay AA back for what I received from you guys. I can't. I just can't. I love Alcoholics Anonymous, man. And I'll forever be grateful to this program. You know, there's some mixed emotions I have in AA with losing my aunt. We were tight, man, and we were tighter than a tick on the dog, man. And well, it's just that one hurt, man. My grandma, 93, you know, but my aunt was a tough one because she was in the program. And my uncle, her husband, still doing it. He's gonna celebrate 23 years. And I'll end with this because my time's almost up. I'll talk about my father, man. When he passed away, we're kind of cleaning out the things of, you know, from his when he dies. You know, we get his suits or his memorabilia, you know, Sports Illustrated, things like that. We're packing up his stuff, and he would get sober maybe like for 2 weeks, you know, and he liked to read books, and my brother actually presented this to me. It was a book. It wasn't an AA book or anything like that, but it was a book, and we found a letter in it, and it was a letter that he wrote to himself, and I just remember 3 key things in there, man. And the three key things that he wrote to himself that my father said is why he couldn't stay sober, why he couldn't get this thing. And it's a true story, man. Those 3 things right in that letter, man. It like baffles me to this day. Said he didn't get a sponsor, he didn't do the steps, and he didn't read the book. So the Newcomer's House is all about, man. Get a sponsor, read the book, do the steps. Your life will change gradually if you do them 12 steps thoroughly. I promise you that. And I'll end with this also too. I thank God for my father. I thank God that he gave another alcoholic. I thank God that he keeps these rooms open for alcoholics like me to come back to see you guys again and get this thing like thoroughly now. I'm all in today because of you guys. I thank God that he gives an alcoholic like me one more chance to do this effing thing right. I thank God so much, man. He's right here. And I thank God that my father was the first person to introduce me to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you for letting me share.